All right, so it's Skully and Bellido here. We are going to
But
go over the GFC 8 top 8 deck lists and just what we think about them and maybe what we think would be good call for GFC 9. So we'll start here. We have the metagame breakdown. So goat control, I think this is the lowest amount of goat control we've had in GFC. With
yeah, it normally takes up a pretty big part of that pie chart.
it's taken up like in the beginning it was taken up to like 50%.
Yeah,
So that's a lot smaller number. And
uh, I
then,
I think part of that could be new players coming into the game, and Goat format's not like the quintessential starting deck anymore. It's Thunder Dragon Chaos. People recommend that over Goat format, over Goat control when to beginners.
yeah, like when I saw this breakdown, the first thing I said, I was like, Thunder Dragon Chaos is the new Goat Control.
For sure.
Because then you could combine two Thunder Dragon Chaos and the Chaos Turbo deck. They're kind of variants of the same deck.
Yeah.
So that brings you up to like 24% right there. And then Chaos Warrior for the second time in a row. Like, the fact like how good Geist had done with it, I think it
hmm
together won like 3 tournaments, or at least got first and second within 3 tournaments. And it's a
So
fairly easy to deck to use too, but has not been popular in the GFCs.
part of that too, though, is I see a lot of people comment on Chaos Warrior saying that Geist just draws amazing, but a lot of people don't like. It looks like a straightforward deck, but it's not that straightforward. Like I know it's a beater deck, but a lot of people play or solemn the wrong thing and they lose.
That's what I was about to say. Solemn Judgment is not a beginner friendly card in any
For
way at
sure.
all. You can just win because you're just beaten down and have the answer to everything. But in a
Yep.
long tournament, you're gonna come up across things where you're like, I do not know if I should activate this Solemn Judgment or not.
Exactly.
Um,
Or there's even times where, like when I was playing solemns in my deck, in Go Control, I won't set it just to make sure I'm not put in a position where do I have to solemn this card
yep.
type of thing. People will do that, and they're like, instead of taking the neg one, we'll solemn and lose the game earlier.
And I saw it a lot over the weekend. Solemn was very popular in the sleeper meta tournament, and I saw
Yep.
people lose games that they were like light years ahead in for card advantage, and then they just started flipping over their solemn judgments. All of a sudden, they were in territory to just lose the game because their life points were so low. So I know that was for a different kind of tournament, but the same theory applies where you can just beat yourself with solemn judgment.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
then,
well, sorry. Part of I feel sleeper tournament is if you have good knowledge of the format and the intricacies of the format, you'll do well there.
yeah, if you have
So
good fundamentals and
yeah.
understand deck building, then you could do good there.
Yeah.
So Dimension Fusion Turbo, coming in slightly under Chaos Turbo, so it was a little
Yep.
more popular than it was the last event. More popular than Chaos Warrior and Angel Chaos, which got third place in the event before this one. So interesting numbers. Nothing crazy with the Library FTK or the Cyberstein decks. So I
Yeah.
guess we'll move on to. Should we start with the last place deck or the first place? I guess it doesn't
I
really
think
matter.
we'll go last because I
Go
think I have
last.
a lot to say about first.
Okay. So last place was Ghost, aka Ivan Flores Tango,
Alright.
with I'd say pretty standard Thunder Dragon
Chaos,
Chaos deck.
yeah, chaos control. Um,
Yeah, Chaos Control. He's got the Metamorphosis in here. I don't like Cyberjar in this deck.
yeah, I think it's only a turbo card.
You're
It's
controlling the
only
game, and then to give your opponent 5 cards is kind of could kind of backfire you with this.
yeah. I think the other way to look for it's the comeback plan, and then he could just ditch it to Regeki break. But I think you could easily just go to 40 cards and cut Cyberjar.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. That make a lot of sense? Just go down to 40 there.
Yeah.
Um,
Other than that, it's pretty standard.
yeah, I really don't have too much to say about this deck.
The side deck he sided really well. I like that the coverages in the side deck.
Yeah, I helped build this side deck for him and Labounty. They played almost the same side deck. I think it ended up being a little too heavy for FTK stuff.
Yeah,
But I thought it was going to be more there would be more people playing it this week or
I
that tournament.
yep. I think Decree Messenger was going to be the big side deck for this event, but I'm seeing Messenger come in, but not so much Decree.
Yeah, I think
And
Messenger is great. It kind of just gives you almost an auto win against the Warrior deck.
yeah.
All right, so seventh place, Insidious with this is just a Thunder Dragon Chaos deck, right?
Yeah, another Chaos Control. A bit more with traps.
Oh yeah, he's got the metas here as well.
One less Chaos Sorcerer. Double Suki. I think I like this version a little bit better than.
So do you like the two Tsukiyomis for these decks? I feel like Tsukiyomi's kind of lost its luster recently.
I personally like it in this deck. I like the double Tsukiyomi.
My issue with it is in the mirror match, it's not that great of a card of if you're not I guess less the mirror and more against like the Chaos Turbo, Tsukiyomi becomes almost a dead card.
Yeah. Would you rather okay, if we're looking at this deck, would you rather Tsukiyomi be a third sorcerer or a second Night Assailant? Maybe not a second Night Assailant because there's only one discard.
I think you play the third sorcerer at this point.
Yeah.
I don't want to run out of he's playing two metas and two sorcerers, whereas I think this is closer to a standard build with three sorcerer, three meta, and they're just gonna have a better late game than you're gonna.
Yeah. That's where I think double Tsukiyomi in the mirror match, if they're playing three metas, would be big because you're not using a Chaos Sorcerer to answer a meta.
Mm-hmm.
You're using a Tsuki instead.
Yeah, that makes sense. No other real big differences for these decks. I mean, I don't. Would you play the tomatoes in this kind of deck?
A tomato is just an extra set to not get hit by knock, right? Where I personally like.
Well, knock and Blade Knight.
Yeah.
Blade Knight was a kind of a big issue for these decks for a bit.
Yeah, I think Spy is better than Tomato, even though it can get knocked.
Mm-hmm.
Just because against, let's say, regular gold control, they have so few outs to a Gravekeeper Spine defense.
Right. Yeah, and then even the Chaos Warrior deck, it usually takes them at least a turn or two to deal with the Spy.
Yeah.
So sixth place. So that's the thing with these Thunder Dragon Chaos Control decks. They all do good, but none of them have won the tournament or even gotten second place for all the GFCs. So here we have another version here. Skill Dark in the main.
So this was closer to something that I started when I was testing out Chaos Control, was playing beaters, like playing a beater. But I ended up cutting it for extra flips.
I wonder if at this point you can just start main deck and Kaikus in these decks.
Yeah. But again, with Kaiku is, I think, much stronger against Turbo than it is against Control, because there's so many answers to Kaiku, especially this one has triple Goat, triple Book.
Double Suki.
Yeah, it's not even going to be a floodgate. They'll be able to answer it before. The new trend that I'm starting to see with Chaos Turbo and Chaos Control is main deck Regeki Break. Not Regeki Break, main deck Return from a Different Dimension.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me. Like, I feel like that card always slides its way in once it gets here's a side deck one copy right here too. It always starts to slide its way into these decks.
Yeah. This side deck's pretty interesting. Cyberstein, 2 Cyberstein.
Cyberstein is a pretty good side deck card. I mean, it's a great answer against the Library FTK deck. The only way that they can out the Last Warrior is if they side in the Swords of Concealing Light.
Oh, and is that actually a side card in that deck?
Yeah, when Deanna won the tournament, I think she sided 3.
Oh wow.
That's a side deck card for it. Mash Driver's a side deck card for Library FTK, because if you because you lose with that deck if they play Ojama Trio on you, because you can't send it to the graveyard with Reversal Quiz, so you can't activate Reversal Quiz.
Oh,
so they have to side in a mass driver if they see Odama
Or
Trio.
you got to clear it first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
All right, so Masis ended up getting fifth place with goat control, so that's always cool to see. But definitely some interesting card choices in here.
This looks very similar. Just staring at it right now to Max's deck, because I think Max main decked Ceasefire, two spies, and a guard.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, this looks very similar to Max's.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think Max's difference. I know he played swords.
Yeah, I think there was a maybe DD Assailant, or I could be wrong there. It
Is
wasn't
there?
double though.
I think it was. It wasn't triple meta either. I think he played maybe double meta in the swords.
Yeah.
But either way, not too many cards off. Um,
This is something that I feel Goat would go more to with Gravekeeper Spies now.
yep. It almost seems like you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how Everfall was able to win. Was with the
Yep.
spies, but he used the main deck Mobius. Some interesting side deck cards here, though. Some stuff that you talked about previously. The Zaborgs in the side.
Yeah, I was thinking Zaborg is super strong in the Turbo matchup. And even in the Chaos Control matchup, because Air Knight's not going to do anything. You would rather clear instead of draw a card.
What do you think about Protector of the Sanctuary?
He's main decking Morphing Jar, right?
Yes, and siding
So
creature
he's
swaps.
going to do that Morphing Jar swap play, but I think Protector is good against the Thunder Dragon Chaos deck.
Mm-hmm.
You can hit Dekoichis for free. They would flip a Dekoichi, they wouldn't draw. Card destruction, it's protection from card destruction.
I think it's pretty cool because if you a lot of times that deck will just be sitting on a hand that's garbage, but then turn into amazing with a graceful card destruction.
Yeah.
And could be garbage to the point where they literally just can't play any cards. So summoning him could sometimes just shut them down for a while. I don't know how consistent it is overall. It's cool he has Ceasefire too, so you could go
Yeah.
set Protector. They could go Pot of Greed. You could chain Ceasefire and stop Pot of Greed, I believe, right?
Yeah. That'd be insane. Imagine that happened.
I'm sure it has. Maybe not in that game, but I guarantee people have done that before. I mean,
That's a crazy idea.
Paul Leviton pulled off the creature swap thing in the Shonen Jump, right?
No, Paul Leviton's was even worse. He just attacked.
Oh, he just attacked? And it was Morphin Jar?
Seriously, first turn, summoned it, attacked it, face down. Now, I'll find the future match. It's somewhere.
Yeah, I vaguely remember it. Seven tools I like. The Pikaroos I don't really get.
Yeah.
I guess it's like a Wabaku against Library.
That's really it. Unless anything for burn, too, I guess.
I would think almost always Howled Life Barrier would be a better card than Pikaroo.
Yeah.
Just take the versatility and have the extra Wabaku effect against like a Reasoning Gate or a Stein deck too, right?
Yep. And I like the Scout deck because it's playing both revivals.
Mm-hmm.
I see revivals slowly losing respect.
Well, I mean, we'll talk more when we get farther up in this list here. There's a lot of cards that lost respect for this tournament.
Is this the only goal control?
Yes, this was the only go control to make top 8.
I see.
All right, so now P-Tranx with the Chaos Turbo deck.
Yeah, so P-Tran finished first in the ladder for season 1.
Yep.
And he finished switching to, so he was sitting in top, so I know him personally. He's from Toronto.
Okay.
And he was sitting in top 10 with before he switched this deck, and we were playing the luxury 3v3 tournaments.
Yep.
And he got I think they got swept by Geist's team.
Okay.
Geist was running this, not the exact deck, but they were on Chaos Turbo.
Mm-hmm.
And he swept all of them.
I believe he knocked out Geist from this tournament.
Oh, so there.
I mean, I'm gonna pull up the bracket, but so Yeah, Petran actually or Petranx, he actually just didn't show up for day two. So
Yeah,
he was on the loser side bracket and only lost once.
yeah. So so he's playing a card that I entered the tournament, disconnected in the first round and dropped after. But I was main decking triple Dust Shoot because I think Dust Shoot was the right call for this event. Just because there's going to be so many Thunder Dragon Chaos decks.
Yep. I would almost say in general right now, Dust Shoot
Yeah,
should take the Sakaretsu spot for almost every
yeah.
deck.
So to give a little way on what I'm playing right now, my Go Control deck cut out the Solemns for Dust Shoots.
Okay.
And it kind of just reverts back to like my original deck. Where I was maining Dust Shoots over Solemns, and I think Dust Shoots just the right call right now.
So yeah, he did. Yeah, he did eliminate Geist from the loser side.
So this is very similar to, if not very similar to Swisky's deck. Just minus, I think Swisky was playing Upstarts when he finished second at the last championship.
Yeah, there's more traps in here for sure. What do you think of three breaks and a wing blast? Is it too many discard traps, or do you need all four?
I think he's just doing it for defense. The deck lacks some defense,
Right, no
and
mirror force, no torrential.
I know the deck has a hard time. I played it a few times, and I always had the issue where it doesn't really OTK. This
Okay.
just lets you control it better and push a little bit earlier, especially if you can just answer. Because most of the time, the deck has to answer big plays on their turn, on like their own turn when they have initiative, where you can do stuff and have an extra break or book or an extra wing blast to answer any plays.
Now, why do you think a deck like this can't play Breaker? Is it just because of Cyberjar?
I think they just want to set.
Okay, they just don't want to
Yeah,
normal
like
summon.
yeah. When I've seen this deck play, I never see a normal summon. Like it doesn't even play tribe. Well, I could see it not play tribe, but it just doesn't feel like it needs breaker. It doesn't play MST either.
When would you bring in the Nadoria?
When you're going into the messenger and the decree, so even against Chaos Warrior or Chaos Beatdown,
Mm-hmm.
it's good. That would be the only matchup I think I would bring it in against.
Like, just looking at this deck on paper, I've never personally used it. The tomatoes, if you draw the Sangan before the tomatoes, what you're just literally just using them to just replace themselves to then
Yeah,
attack with, or what?
you thin out, or you can always go to like a Dekoichi or a Knight of Sound. Like you have targets at the very end of it,
Mm-hmm.
but it just thins out your deck if you're getting hit by an Azura Priest, for example.
But its main point is just to thin the deck out. Yeah.
It's an extra set to protect you from knock.
Okay.
Like knock is so underwhelming. I don't want to say underwhelming, but it's just not as good against this deck. Like you could knock a faith and they could have the extra faith in hand.
Right.
It's just I played against this deck and I felt like I want all knocks. Obviously you're gonna want multiple knocks.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just it never feels like enough.
All right. Anything else to say about the side deck?
No, he had the side deck that I thought was gonna be very popular. Triple Decree, Triple Messenger just crushes the warrior deck.
Okay.
Literally can't do anything.
So then, third place, one of the few Angel Cast decks entered with, and here we're seeing, the main deck Trap Dust Shoots.
Yep. I'm a fan of this deck. I like this deck. I feel Angel Chaos doesn't get enough respect. I don't know if we had it on tier 1 at the time. Maybe at the back of tier 1.
Yeah, no, we had it up in tier 1.
Yeah, I just think solid control deck.
Mm-hmm. Do you think this is better than Go Control right now?
Yeah, but I also do believe Go Control gives this deck its toughest matchup.
Yeah, for sure.
This is good against the meta because recruiters are strong against like the Chaos Turbo deck.
Some
But go,
change. Oh, go ahead.
yeah,
Some changes compared to the ACP build. We have the third Chaos Sorcerer over the Skill Dark Magician,
yeah.
and then Torrential cut for Trap Dust Shoot. I'm not sure what the other card that's different for the other Trap Dust Shoot to fit in is.
Maybe Call. Was he playing
Yeah,
Call?
yeah. ACP plays Call no Preemie, so that'd be the other card. You're right.
But let me see. Side deck Roulette Barrel. I feel like you could use that. You could utilize that space much better.
Yeah, I don't love this side deck. I mean, the third, it kind of just looks like it was a lot of cards you couldn't fit in the main. Like, I mean, he might be able to explain better when he's bringing in the third Book of Moon, when he's bringing in the third Sakuretsu. The third Trap Dust Shoot is fine, but
I see him side. So the side deck looks heavily for Go Control outside of the creature swaps, but like the first, so the double zero priest book Go Mind Control
yep.
looks like it's for Go Control matchup.
All right, so moving on to second place. So IMZ1 again with the. I think this is a little closer to Swisky's. No,
Yeah,
maybe not. I don't know.
yeah.
It's the same
So
kind of idea, but
Yep. A lot of people have gone away from Upstart Goblin. So I guess he's playing Jar Greed instead of that. Jar Greed is just a slower version, but again, this deck has a hard time killing.
right.
And
So,
especially if you upstart and give them more life, it's like giving them an extra turn to draw a card.
yeah, Swisky's argument for the card was that it made his Magician of Faiths more playable turn one, which I really don't like the sound of that. If that's potentially meaning you're grabbing an Upstart Goblin with Magician of Faith.
Yeah.
This build decided to cut Magician of Faith down to 2 and went while
Mhm.
removing the upstarts. So the thing that's been most talked about this deck is no breaker, main or side, no torrential or mirror force, main or side deck.
Yeah, I remember. I like Solemn Judgment in this deck as well too. It helps you push for OTKs, so it's not so much defense. It's just when you have enough to go for it, you just rush through back rows.
Mm-hmm.
He played
no ring.
See, no ring, right?
Yeah, no ring, main or side.
So he beat Lazar. Lazar was telling me he lost first round and then he dropped. But he played this guy, and the guy had multiple solemns at the end of the game to ice him out. So I think I like solemn in this deck.
Yeah, I think Solemn makes sense for these kind of decks where like you have the stuff to go nuts. Like if you're Solemning a nobleman could be a big deal for this deck too. Like even though you're saying, yo, it doesn't care if it gets nobleman.
Yeah.
But that's like double the ways now that you can either not care because the monster you set is fine to not get nobleman, or you can solemn it and now you're gonna flip the cyber jar next turn.
Yeah. And
I like the Swarm
sure-
of Locust in the side
Yeah.
deck.
yeah, that's interesting. Behind Messenger piece, I think he says that in his interview. It's
Mhm.
it's pretty strong. I've never thought of that.
I mean, the fact that you can leave it face up and not worry about getting nobleman behind a messenger and pop the cards is pretty cool. Mind Control is in a ton of these side decks. Do you side deck Mind Control?
If I was playing, I don't side deck it because I'm playing Go Control. But if I was playing Chaos Turbo, I would.
It's pretty multifunction now. I mean, now with Cyberjar being played, it's even a little bit crazier.
The Cyberjar is I'm not laddering now. When I was laddering last season,
Yep.
I've lost. I remember of my losses. 3 of them were like Cyberjar games where I've had it, and out of nowhere, I didn't account for any of the jars.
Right, because Morphin Jar has kind of been put to the
Yeah.
sideline the last few months as well. Now, mind controlling a Gravekeeper Spy is not the worst thing in the world either. Now, if you're playing them yourself,
Yep.
grabbing a Night Assailant's usually okay. Dekochi's always all right. Magician of Faith obviously great. Banshing a Chaos Monster. I guess worst case you're grabbing Sangan, Sinister, or Tomato.
Yeah. It's a super strong card in this matchup.
I know this deck kind of caught me off guard. I didn't expect that these triple Tomato decks to just show up.
Yeah, I feel like recruiters are kind of the way right now.
I mean, I always thought, I was like, oh, Recruiter seems like it'd be a good answer for these Warrior decks, but the old Recruiter deck I don't think is the answer to them. But the Recruiter monsters themselves seem like a solid way.
No, I agree.
All right, so that leaves us with the Mensch with this Warrior Chaos Smokescreen into Gravekeeper deck.
Easily one of my favorite decks I've seen this format. And so I was gonna do a video with Rust on why Chaos Warrior is not good anymore, or why it's not doing that well.
Uh-huh.
And this deck, the main deck alone, was kind of the reason why.
Spells it out.
Yeah, was gonna hit a lot of the points where this, mostly from the side deck perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Game 1 win ratio for Chaos Warriors like should be super high, like in the 80%. But going game 2 when you're against Decree Messenger, completely shuts down the deck because you can't make any attacks. And I feel like Tomato is strong, still lets you apply pressure. It just doesn't keep you out of the game.
So what I liked a lot about this is, I think for a long time, I think me and you both have said it before too, it was like, oh, Gravekeeper makes a lot of sense to beat the meta right now.
Yep.
But the issue with Gravekeeper is has a high chance of losing to itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
But when you do it this way, and you already won game 1, and you're bringing this in against a deck that it's 100% great against, it almost nullifies the fact that the Gravekeepers could just brick themselves.
Yeah. The only problem I see with his side deck is it's funny that the main deck is not as weak to Decree Messenger as regular Chaos Warrior, because regular Chaos Warrior is triple Sorcerer and 2 extra ninjas, and usually skilled Dark Magician, DD Warrior Lady.
Mm-hmm.
If someone brings in Messenger Decree and he sides to Gravekeepers, Messenger Decree becomes just as strong against the side deck because none of the guys can attack.
Right, yeah, the Messenger, that is a good point. I mean, maybe that's part of why the Mobius was put in there with it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how many times he smokescreen sided against going into game 2 versus game 3 after seeing either Decrees or Messenger.
Yeah, that's interesting because I guess you could still you could side out. You can't side out all the traps.
I think all the traps actually stay, and it's the monster package. So 1, 2, the top 10. I think everything would go except Sangan, and maybe Dawn. No, I think a Dawn would come out. So that's 9. Let's say the top line is 9 cards that come out. Then the 2 Rhodas, 11.
So then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the monster swaps. 8, 9, 10 for the Necros. So you need at least 3 more, or at least 2 more, without counting the Mobius or the Zinzang.
Breaker would stay. Exiled might go out.
Exiled, I think, would probably go out.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of monsters going out, though, right? We're at that point.
5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, the deck might still keep anything that can get
Probably-
tomato. It might keep the Dawn.
It probably takes out Torrential.
Yep.
Creature swap, maybe?
I think that's still strong with tomatoes because he's gonna keep tomatoes in, right?
Yeah.
I could see maybe even a dust tornado come out.
Yeah, I know the skill drain stayed in.
Yeah. Skill Drain is still really good with Gravekeeper. It's just another floodgate type of card.
Right. Well, being able to turn off Thousand Eyes is a big deal.
Yeah. But if he conversion sided and they got a decree up before there was a solemn, his out is literally only breaker MST and heavy.
I'm
But
guessing.
mostly,
I'm guessing this Mobius came in almost every time.
I think it would have to if people were like. How many times did we see Messenger Decree in the other decks? Almost all of them had at least one, if not both.
Yeah, let's see.
Right.
One.
So that has both.
This one
This
does
has
not
not-
have it. Two.
right?
That one didn't have it. Here's one messenger. Here's decrees. About half.
Yeah.
Only two had maxed out messenger and decree, but that's two out of just the top 8. So what would you think going into the next GFC? Would you bring a deck like this in again, or do you think it's not as good now that people are prepared for it, or now that people know about it?
Yeah, I think not. I wouldn't bring a deck like this if Goat Control keeps declining in popularity. Like
Mhm.
these rogue type of beatdown decks with tricks are strong. Just because Goat Control is one of those good grindy decks that would outpace this deck.
Yeah, I mean, the Mensch said in his interview the biggest deck he was worried about was someone playing something like Everfall's deck that won GFC 7.
Yeah, because this deck can get in situations where, like, it can't press because it can press, but it makes Blade Knight ineffective because you have to put a monster beside it.
Yep.
But if going into the next event is 9, right? Format
Yes.
championship.
Yep, 9.
Main deck, crap Dust Shoot for sure. I think we'll see a lot more play. You could make a case for Mind Control in the main if you're looking for extra Nobleman outs, like an extra Nobleman type of card. If you're worried about
that's a risky one though. That could lead to just going minus with it too.
Yeah.
I kind of like how Mass has played Ceasefire.
Yeah.
Because with all the solemn judgments being played around, we see a lot of games be grinded out to the end where it's like, well, if they played one burn card besides the rings that are already gone, it'd be a huge deal right now.
Yeah, like there's no answer for Ceasefire where there's an answer for ring. You could always save a book if you need to do that.
Right. Or Regeki Break at this point with how many of those we're seeing.
Yeah. But I think for the next, outside of Dust Shoot, there has to be triple Dust Shoot between the main deck and the side deck. I think the Chaos deck is going to be more and more popular. The Thunder Dragon Chaos deck.
Yeah, for the fact that it hasn't won or got second place yet, I think it's still going to just keep getting more and more popular.
Yeah.
People try to play with Goat Control and they get blown out so badly sometimes with it. I think they just immediately switch to Thunder Dragon Chaos.
Yep.
But I'm not convinced that Goat Control is still not like up there of the top best decks and that it can't win another tournament.
I think it's still up there just because it's the one of the strong. It's the weakness is the early game.
Mm-hmm.
The early game that deck is kind of slow, but it has a really good long game and a pretty good, like, as the game goes longer, Goat Control, in my opinion, gets much better.
I think it has more ways to win than a lot of these other decks. Like
Yeah, it can set up a lot of ways, right?
yeah, like you could win by deck out. You could win by locking your opponent. I mean, that's kind of the same thing, but I think it just has more win condition cards in it. Like
Yeah, like for example, these cards don't have answers or OTKs when they're at 8,000, when your opponent's at 8,000, but it's a game that got grinded out because they're not playing stuff like Tribe, Premature.
right. Yeah, I mean, during watching streams, like I see Thunder Dragon Chaos decks actually like deck out a good amount of times because they run out of like their only way to win the game. They're like, well, I have one Chaos Sorcerer left in the deck, and maybe one other monster that I can actually attack with left in my deck with 11 cards left right now, and I have to try to find a way to win the game before I deck out.
Yep.
So I think if we see more innovative goat control builds, like from GFC 7 with Everfall's list that main deck the Mobiuses,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the only way you can win with that, like his deck specific. I think just the goat control deck hasn't been tweaked enough or innovated enough with stuff you said, like main deck and the dust shoots. And it's still built right now to play against goat mirrors, and I think it needs to be built to play more against these chaos decks at this point.
Yeah, like I feel like goat control should not need to side for goat control.
Well,
Like I feel like you need one or two cards against it, and you could build your side deck more against other stuff. Where you could also even give up main deck spaces, where a lot of people used to build goat control for goat control mirror matches,
right.
where you could just pull a lot of stuff out now. Like you could see tech cards like Kaiku that you mentioned earlier to try and answer these chaos decks.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's take a quick look here. So if you had Kaiku against even the Menchus deck right here, Tomatoes would only get over it if they rammed them all in to search Nidoria.
Yep.
Blade Knight has to be boosted up to get over Kaiku. Could crash with Suzuki. Can't summon Chaos Monsters. A Sewer Priest ain't gonna do it.
Yeah.
The monsters themselves here aren't gonna be that great against the Kaiku. The Turbo deck.
Yeah, it just has about
Kaiku could really just say no to it. They're gonna have to wait till they get to Book and Regeki Break almost.
Yeah, only 6 outs to Kaiku in this deck. So this is
and Night Assailants, but those aren't great ones.
Yeah, so sorry, 8 outs. 8 outs in game 1.
Game 2 has 3 more Nidorias, and that's it.
Yeah.
Mind Control is kind of like a pseudo out. But
Mind Control, you still can't summon your own, can you?
Yeah, you can. Only your opponent can't.
Only your opponents.
Yeah, no Snatch Steal in this deck either. I just realized. No Snatch on the main side.
Not disrespect, but like there's so many power cards that I feel our power cards were staples in Go format that are slowly getting cut.
This build is the craziest one for that, right? Like no Ring of Destruction, no Snatch Steal, no Mirror Force, no Torrential. So what happened too by the final? It did burn IMZ1 doing this, by the way. When he got to the finals, guys, the Mensch knew he wasn't playing Mirror Force and Torrential. You know how powerful that information is?
I know.
It's ridiculous. You gotta side deck the card if you're not maining it.
Like his only answer to that, if someone is going crazy against you, is maybe punishing them. You would have to answer them if someone is doing that versus punishing, where you get a lot more reward if you punish them. The only way you can punish that type of play is the Cyberjar in this deck.
Yeah, once your opponent knows you're not playing those, they have no reason not to put 2-3 monsters on the board every single time, other than Cyberjar.
But right now I think the big thing going into GFC 9 would be Dust Shoot, more game 1 answers maybe to the Thunder Dragon Chaos deck.
Mm-hmm.
Or play Thunder Dragon Chaos.
Yeah.
that seems to be what everyone else is going towards. Eventually it'll win if everybody plays it.
It's true. Like even look at past formats we had like that. what was the one where the what was it? Dino Rabbit forever could not win the tournament. We would have like out of like this top 16, it would have like 11 to 14 spots for
Yeah.
I think like 4 events in a row before it finally
And
won one.
what event it finally won?
Yeah,
I feel like it was. Was it after priority changed?
it was after priority changed. Yeah.
No, the event after priority. I remember we went to that. My teammate won that in Chicago.
Okay. Yeah, that was after it wasn't the one that priority changed at. No, I think it was. Was it? Wasn't that
Yeah.
like the one of the bigger ones too? Was it one of the anniversary tournaments?
No, it was Chicago.
Okay.
But I remember priority changing and it messed up a lot of people because priority was meant to hurt.
It should have made Rabbit worse.
Yeah, but it actually made Rabbit's worst matchup, which was in Sector,
Mm-hmm.
because people started to main deck Veiler now, where people weren't main decking Veiler before.
Okay. All right. So I think that's all I got left to say about these decks. Anything else that you wanted to bring up?
No, I mean I'm excited for the next event. The next
Yeah,
go
so
for my
GFC 9 is going to be on July 18th, and it is going to be called GFC Euros because we're going to try to accommodate it to the European time zone. So just check out goatformat.com for more info on that, guys. And we have a bot inside the Discord that can convert the time zone for you because everyone seems to get super confused on that. And surprisingly, Google's not super helpful with changing time zones either. All right, thanks, Dale. We'll catch you later.
See ya.